Hello Internet, welcome back to Trumps Twilight. This is the channel where I, Vincent, talk to you about books, movies, music that I find interesting, that I enjoy, or a combination of the two. Today, I would like to talk about the 2025 film Sinners. This film is directed by Ryan Coogler. It stars Michael B. Jordan as two twins, Smoke and Stack. I just wanted to talk about this film a little bit to talk about some of what I thought were interesting ideas in this movie. I will say up the top, if you haven't seen this film, I'm about to wreck it. Like, you should go into it not knowing what it's about. That's how you would get the most out of it. Okay, Ryan Coogler, he directed the Black Panther. I didn't see the film because I almost never like superhero movies. This movie, though, is a combination of a movie about music and culture within the black community in America in the early 20th century and a horror film. And it mashes these two things together to use horror as a kind of satirical or allegorical element in the way that lots of good horror does. So I'm not going to try to summarize the whole story, but I'll give some of the major beats to give context for what I'm going to talk about. The film starts with the character Sammy Miles Caton. He's in his teens, I guess, and he arrives back at the church where his father is the preacher, carrying the neck of a guitar that's broken, and he's very injured. I am always like slightly worried about movies that are like obviously like looking at black American culture, even if they're made by black directors. Like, I always feel, because I'm quite alienated from that, or quite separate from that culture, that I'm not capable necessarily of telling whether something is respectful or stereotypical. So especially when it's like stuff around, like, you know, the blues and spirituals and picking cotton, and lots of these things are in this film. But the preacher who is Sammy's dad, is played by Saul Williams, and anybody who knows me knows that I hold Saul Williams in extremely high esteem. He's a poet, writer, singer, rapper, musician, actor. I've seen him live. I've loved his music since his first album came out. Before that, he was a slam poet. Saul Williams being in this film, I was like, okay, that is a quality stamp. And at the end of the film, massive spoiler, Sammy, as a grown man, is played by Buddy Guy, the blues musician. Also, although I don't know his work as well as Saul Williams, somebody that I respect and that it was so fun to see in the film. So, like, the film opens with Saul Williams, closes with Buddy Guy, so you know, kind of, you're in safe hands in terms of like respect for tradition, culture, music. The concept in the film is that there are certain types of musician who, through their playing, can open up a passageway both to the past and to the future. And in the film, Stack and Smoke, or Smoke and Stack, I guess is the correct order to say their names in, both played by Michael B. Jordan. They're these two twins who grew up in Louisiana, traveled the world, joined the army, fought in Germany in the First World War, came back to America, and were in Chicago where they were working with or for Al Capone during Prohibition. And they've come back down to the South to start a juke joint that they buy from the local Ku Klux Klan. All of this kind of sets up the essential ideas of the film, which is the importance of music as something that holds generations and communities together, and then racial segregation, but also racial community in America during a time when America was like still trying to kind of define itself through its different ethnic groups. So you have the Klan set up in opposition to these local people. Now, Smoke and Stack, they go around and they get mostly black, but also some Chinese people to come together and use all of their skills from the local community to create this nightclub and put on this amazing opening night. And they get Sammy to come and play the guitar and sing a song. What happens when Sammy plays is that it's like time slips. So he starts to play, and then it's like he's connected to people from all of the African diaspora before him. Different kind of tribal dances start happening in the audience, and then you see like an electric guitarist coming in, like from the 60s or 70s, because this film takes place, I believe, in the 20s. And then like there's somebody on the decks, and then like beats cut in, and um, an MC shouting out his name because he's called Preacher Boy is like his stage name, and everybody's dancing. And then within the dance, you also see like people in traditional Chinese dress who have like come to form the dance with the Chinese characters. So this could easily be like totally ridiculous, but it's done so well that I actually cried. Like I felt like this was such a beautiful evocation of how music ties us to tradition, but also opens the way to the future and brings people from different backgrounds, but within the same community together. Parallel to this, a figure has appeared at the house of two members of the Ku Klux Klan and done something with them so that they turn up in a kind of supernatural form and they try to come in to the juke joint. You don't realize it yet in the film, but these people are vampires, so they can't come in unless they're invited. And the people who are putting on this night, the black people, don't want to invite these three white strangers in to their community environment. So this is one of the first times that I realized how like subtle the critique of American racism really was in this film, because you have the Ku Klux Klan at the beginning, but when the vampires come, they want to come in and they want to play music, you know, they want to pay money and they want to participate. They just want to. This is like all about how like white people think that they're entitled to enter any space, even though they like segregate their own spaces, always have done, both subtly and deliberately. They say, you know, you can't come in because, you know, sorry, like go. There's loads of white clubs. Go there, and they see Hailee Steinfeld's character Mary. Now she's white passing, and I think her mother was biracial, so she doesn't look very black, but she grew up around black people in the black community. And there's quite a moving story that one of the brothers, Stack, loves her, but they could never be together because he wants her to be able to be safe within the privilege of whiteness. So he's kind of left her or rejected her. Anyway, that's a digression. The point is, one of the vampires, white vampires, says, "How does she get in?" And someone says, "She's family." And they say, "Can't we all be family just for one night?" And I thought this was great because it's like you have the overt and violent racism of the Ku Klux Klan, but then you have these all lives matter, I don't see race, can't we all be family, white folks coming in and trying to basically invade or colonize this local community's kind of personal community event. The next thing that happens in the narrative is that they realize that their juke joint is not going to make enough money, and this is because a lot of people are paying with plantation money, which can only be accepted on the plantation. They're not paying with dollars because they don't get paid in dollars. They get paid in plantation money, or they have their like own local community currency. Smoke and Stack probably had debts with the people from Chicago. Not only that, but they've also been buying from both the Italians and the Irish. So they're probably going to be in trouble and need to pay off both sides when the Irish and the Italians realize that they are playing both sides. This is also kind of about the fact that American white minorities, or like who became white, succeeded within America by sticking together and self-segregating in local communities. So the Irish, the poor Irish, supported one another and had like close communities. The Jewish population did the same. The Italian Americans did the same. But every time black Americans tried to do this, the Klan or other people wouldn't allow them to like build community in the same way. So this is kind of all being referenced through these points in the film. So the next thing they do is they go to the white vampires and they say, they send Mary because she's white passing, and they try to find out how much money they've actually got. And this, I think, is fantastic as a plot point in a film that's about African American, Black American music, because a lot of radical Black Americans talk about by and black capitalism will lift people out of poverty. But the problem is that the Black American population is still a minority. So in order to really become successful as like an artist, a musician, you need to be able to reach a white audience. I watched an interview with JPEG Mafia about this, where somebody asked him what it's like for him to look out and see all these white people in his audience when his music is so very like in your face, radical black music. And he said, I think if you look out and you see white people in the audience, then you know you're successful. You know you're making money. That's how you make money in America. You need a white audience. So they go to the white people, but they're vampires. And this is when the film switches, and it does, like, if anybody has seen Dusk Till Dawn, it's one movie for the first half, and then the second movie is a vampire movie. So it becomes like a more of like a tropey horror film where the vampires are trying to get in, and the characters that you've come to know through the film are trying to keep them out. This worked very well for me for the first part of the horror section of the film, but for me it kind of unfortunately slid into some like real dumb-headed like multiplex action sequences towards the end. But I wanted to mention one other thing that I really loved, which is that, two actually. The first is that when the vampires start to take the people from the party and they build this community outside, they're kind of selling this like peace and love, we're all one community philosophy, or like this is their argument, come with us, you'll have a home with us, we'll all be together. I think this is kind of about assimilation. Like, the people from the party, the only option they're given to survive the night is to lose their identity and become part of this horde of people who are still run by the Irish white vampire. Another thing is that there's like this great, like really super intense Irish folk music section with all the vampires dancing outside. It wasn't played as ugly. It was respectful towards the Irish folk music tradition, and I thought that was cool that they were like showing these different folk music traditions, the blues on the one hand, Irish folk dance and Irish folk songs on the other hand. And then when the vampire comes to the door, the main vampire, he says to them, Preacher Boy, the young blues man, the good singer and guitarist, he's the reason I'm here, because he can connect me to my lost ancestors. I need what he's got, because this is a vampire who's outlived all of the people he grew up around, right? So that makes so much sense that he wants to be able to have that connection back to the past. So I came for him, he says. Just give me him and I'll be happy. I was like, wow, that's so profound, because this is like exactly what happened to American blues artists, rock and roll artists, also to hip hop, is that white America, or the white world, sees something that they want, and then they take that form out of its context and turn it into something else, or like just by nature of the fact that it's stripped of its context, it becomes something else. So those were my thoughts about this film. I thought that it was it's interesting because the characterization is not brilliant in my opinion, and Michael B. Jordan is super charming, and at the first time you see Smoke and Stack, he plays them really differently, and you can see these two different people. But then as the film went on, I felt like the writing of those characters, like they were only different in some very broad strokes. Like one of them was more a protector, the other one was more like a womanizer. One of them was like a bit more serious, the other one was a bit more playful, but they weren't written different enough for me. Like, I've known identical twins, and I thought that that could have been better. Um, the same with Sammy. He's a cool character, but he was a bit one-dimensional, and the women even more so. So there were weaknesses to this film, like I say. But I think the thing is that the genres that Coogler is playing with, like the action genre, a little bit of a sort of superhero style thing with the two main characters. Um, those are not my favorite genres. So I think within the genres he's playing with, I think is probably flawless. But just for me personally, the sort of very action heavy section towards the end uh, didn't really do it for me. But I also think if you want to have like a Trojan horse where you get these quite sophisticated ideas about cultural appropriation, um, the misuse and misunderstanding of Black American art, and also this great kind of juxtaposition between like the Klan and this more like smiley uh, rainbow. I don't see color. All lives matter. Racism that the vampires represent. Uh, Maybe you need to put it in a multiplex style. So those are my thoughts about the film. If you've seen it, let me know what you thought about what I'm saying. Um, Again, bonus points for Saul Williams. Any film with Saul Williams in is all right by me. But I hope that you enjoyed my little discussion. And if you'd like to continue it, jump in the comments. I pretty much always answer people if they write at any length. And I really love hearing people's viewpoints. Also, if you didn't notice and I didn't mention it enough, I'm a white European. So if I'm way off on anything about this film, please let me know. I'd love to know. Okay, bye bye.